Good evening, everyone. My name is Jade Maxwell Rodriguez, and I am the Chief of Government and Community Relations at York University, and I will be moderating this virtual town hall. I'd like to welcome you to joining us either through Zoom or through YouTube. I'd like to begin tonight with a land acknowledgement. As this town hall is virtual and we are not all gathered in the same space, I recognize that this land acknowledgement might not be for the territory on which you are currently on. And we ask, if this is the case, that you take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory you are on and the current treaty holders. As a member of the York University community, I recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tekaronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peacefully care and share for the Great Lakes region. I would now like to review a few housekeeping items before we get started. This event is being recorded and will be made available after the event on our website, yorku.ca/Markham. I'd like to thank everyone who submitted a question in advance. I'll be asking these questions throughout today's session. And where possible, when their questions are of a similar nature, I will try and bundle them together to allow us to get through as many questions as possible. We will also be taking questions during the town hall from tonight's audience, and this will be accomplished in a few different ways. You can post questions using the Q&A function in Zoom at the bottom of your screens, and also through our dedicated email address, markham@yorku.ca. The link is also on the webcast website. And if you're watching through YouTube, please use the email. Our moderating team will also be monitoring the Q&A and choosing a few questions that will be asked live during the town hall. If your question is selected, you'll be asked if you could turn your video or audio on so that you can ask the question. Likely there will be more questions than we have time to answer this evening. Anything that we are not able to address during the town hall will be forwarded to the appropriate department, and you will receive a response if you have provided us with your contact information. We will also be updating our question and answer page on our Markham website to reflect these questions and responses from tonight's session. So with that, I'd like to introduce the panelists who will be participating in tonight's event. Rhonda Lenton, President and Vice Chancellor of York University. Frank Scarpitti, Mayor, City of Markham. Lisa Phillips, Provost, Vice President, Academic. Amir Asif, Vice President, Research and Administration. Carol McCauley, Vice President, Finance and Administration. Gary Brewer, President, York University Development Corporation. And Reed McAlpine, Counselor, City of Markham. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to President Lenton to get us started.
Thank you so much, Jade. Good evening, everyone. Bienvenue à tous, bonjour. I'm really delighted that so many of you have taken the time to join us this evening. And I want to start off by first thanking everyone on the panel with me this evening. York has long had a vision now for a third campus in York region, part of our commitment to ensuring that the skills requirements of the future were being met, and a campus that would act as a pillar for the growth of the innovation ecosystem and the economy in York region and Ontario. That vision was rooted in our confidence that the university could leverage its strengths by working in close collaboration with the City of Markham, contributing not only to the city, but the region and the province. The university's engagement in York Region has been steadily increasing over many years now to keep pace with the incredible growth of the population and industry. Innovation York is a major partner in the IBM Innovation Space Markham Convergence Center, and York's innovation hub, Y-Space, supports budding entrepreneurs in Markham already. We also introduced academic programming in Markham for the first time in fall 2019 with classes at the IBM Canada headquarters. Last July, we announced that we would be moving ahead with the Markham Center campus. And in September, we officially broke ground. These were historic moments for York and for Markham, and they would not have been possible without the support of Mayor Scarpitti, Markham councillors, my York University colleagues, and local community leaders, many of whom I know have joined us today. I want to thank you for sharing and supporting our vision for a state-of-the-art campus that ensures that thousands of students will have increased access to a high-quality, research-intensive learning experience closer to home. When the doors to this new campus open in 2023, we will be offering flexible programs that respond to the needs of our students and employers through cutting-edge courses and research that addresses the complex global challenges affecting the world today, including climate change, homelessness, systemic inequality, and even COVID-19. From the questions that were submitted to us prior to the event, I know that many of you are eager to learn about the most recent plans for programming at the Markham campus, and we will be sharing the latest details on academic offerings and offering updates in a few moments. But for now, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Mayor Frank Scarpitti.
Well, thank you very much, President Lenton, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining this in the second town hall hosted by York University and the city of Markham. And I want to thank President Lenton, Jade, really the entire team for putting this together. It's a robust program, so I'm going to try and move as quickly as I can. First of all, I can tell you our community is extremely excited about the fact that York University has broken ground, and we're seeing this first public university in the region of York become a reality right here in the city of Markham. And I have to say that tonight's event, among many other things that we'll do, provides us a great way to connect to the community, to certainly let them know about the campus, give them up-to-date information, and truly an opportunity to also get some feedback about the information, because as we move forward, York is going to more and more be a part of our community, and certainly you have been, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So, President Lenton, I just want to say, and you probably are getting tired of me saying this, but I just want to say a big thank you to you. You know, it's when something is finally underway, sometimes you kind of forget what it took to get there. And I just want to say, if it wasn't for your absolute determination, your energy, all of your efforts over the past couple of years, we would not be here where we are today celebrating the construction of York University. So I just thank you for your tremendous passion, for never giving up the dream. And I know that it took an awful lot of work with you and your team to get us here. And absolutely, you know, we were, if not, sometimes I think we're in front of you, but most times beside you, and other times you just left us in the dust because you knew that you had to get certain things done. And I really appreciate everything that you have done. Fair to say that, you know, it used to be said that the York region was the only jurisdiction in all of North America with a population of over 1 million people that did not have a major university. Well, they ain't saying that anymore. I can tell you that now we don't stand out in that regard. And truly, this is a project that we've been waiting for some time. I think it's a great project that demonstrates the incredible collaboration that's happened between those in government, those in academia, and a community, truly a community coming together to support such an incredible initiative. So big thanks, of course, to York Region for their donation of $25 million. The province of Ontario, again, we wouldn't be here. I know it takes, when a road gets bumpy, it takes people, to step in and make sure that the road gets smoothed out and that we're heading in the right direction. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Premier Doug Ford, of course, Minister Ross Romano, the MPPs from York Region, in particular. Thank you to Paul Calandra. Truly, this has been a team effort, and I thank everyone who's brought us to where we are, and to the generous donors at York, some who've been with you for some time, others that are coming to the table to make sure that we can fulfill this promise here in the city of Markham. Fair to say, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about that aspect of it, President Lenton, but fair to say that again, it's going to take the whole community coming together to make this a reality. And I look forward to the day that the doors are open. I'd also like to say a special thank you to the previous council, Markham Council, who really had to work again. First of all, I don't think there was a lot of convincing, but we had to convince York to pick Markham from other communities in York Region. But nonetheless, we came in with our A game, and it was because of the commitment of the previous council and our current council as well that has been sort of waiting for the moment to happen, and it's happening. And I'm really pleased that the local councillor, Councillor Reid McAlpine, has been able to join us here tonight. And I know even before he got on council, there were a lot of questions he asked, and he still keeps asking them. I don't know why he keeps asking the questions, but I'm glad that he does. And it really will take all of us to see it through. And I also want to say a special thank you to Andy Taylor and to all the staff at the City of Markham. I think you can appreciate they've been dealing with this notion of bringing York to our community on so many different levels. When I say we brought our A game to convince York to come to the City of Markham, I mean, it was the staff that did that work to put together the presentation and to demonstrate to York what we had to offer. And, you shift from making the pitch to then kind of working with your team to deliver a project that fits on the 5 acres of land that we donated. And then you move from that role to the regulatory aspect where we have to approve site plans and all that stuff. So on many different levels, many different departments have been engaged in this. And I say a big thank you to Andy and the team at the City of Markham. So President Lenton talked about the fact that York has, in many respects, been no stranger to the City of Markham. And I can tell you, it's happened at different levels. York University has been part of Team Markham when we have participated in global economic opportunities. They've been with us at the table. I appreciate the fact that before they put a shovel in the ground, they went out of their way. Again, when you're busy doing all the things that you do and you're trying to get a university approved, that's a heck of an effort. And to kind of step a little bit to the sidelines and say, well, before we put a shovel in the ground, we want to demonstrate our commitment to the community. And you did it in such a big way by setting up Y Space, which is the incubator that has helped so many entrepreneurs, innovators who have wonderful ideas, and you've been able to support them in our community. And as you said, a big upping of the game, so to speak, locally before the campus in offering the courses at the IBM building on Steeles Avenue. Again, in the midst of everything else you were trying to do to get the university approved, to do that in advance of a physical building being here, I think it just speaks to the amazing commitment and we couldn't ask for more. So I think all of us here recognize the importance and the impact a university has in a community. It is a game changer for sure. It changes post-secondary education, not just in Markham and in York Region, but truly in the GTA. This is a big addition to the capacity to accommodate students who will be looking for that post-secondary experience without having to go away, without the added costs of having to go away. So it'll be much more affordable, much more accessible. And in many respects, the students will be able to continue to have the support of their family and friends, and again, their community, which is extremely important. And the fact that this campus is being built couldn't come at a better time. We're seeing growth happening in York Region. And in fact, when you compare York Region to other parts of North America, we're one of the fastest growing. And that's the people that come here. But organically, within our community, we're made up of thousands of families across York Region. And right now, over the next several years, the largest age group that's going to explode in many respects is going to be the 18 to 22-year-olds. It's a segment of our population that's actually one of the fastest segments in all of the province of Ontario. So you couldn't have found a better time and perhaps a better place to have York built at this particular moment. And there's no doubt providing these opportunities here to our students is going to be extremely important. And for those of you that don't know, I still get asked, where's this university being built? It is right beside, almost right beside, the Pan Am Center. And if you go by there these days, you'll see a lot of activity. And I was just inquiring with Gary Brewer just prior to the start if things were still on track. And he says they are. And we hope to keep them that way so that we can open the doors in 2023. But for those of you that know a little bit about that area, it is going to evolve over the next 15 to 20 years with right now on the books, 40,000 people eventually living there, another 40,000 people working there. And York, again, couldn't be better situated in Markham Center, right beside the Pan Am Center, which is an amazing facility that York students will have access to. And of course, within just a few minutes walk of the Unionville GO station. And again, for those of you that know Markham, one of the big reasons that York came here is because Markham is, along with York Region, the second largest IT hub in the whole province. And so we have many of the big names, IBM, AMD, the GM Canadian Technical Center, and hundreds of small to medium enterprises that are involved in the tech cluster that is here. And truly, it's going to be that amazing collaboration between York and those companies that I think is going to not only prepare the students for the jobs of the future, but really will contribute to the economic prosperity of York Region and the province itself. So I think as politicians, you always kind of wonder what's your best side, and you don't have to answer for me right now that particular question. But when you see the images that are behind some of the panelists, you'll get to appreciate there's beautiful sides on all sides of this iconic building. And one of the things I asked President Lenton when they were kind of looking at their programming and having some challenges getting the project across the finish line, they had to begin to look at some options. The one thing I begged her to do is just don't tinker with that beautiful building that you've got. It is just amazing. It's going to stand out. It really will in the whole community. And no matter what angle you see it, during the day, at night, from the front, what might be considered the other side, it really doesn't matter. This is an incredible looking building. And again, you're going to hear about what's not only offered inside with the 20 degree programs, but also some of the interesting aspects of this building. So I just want to say our journey is far from over. Obviously, we're here. The university is being constructed. It's preparing our community and our students for the 21st century. When I say about timing, your timing, President Lenton, is impeccable, because right now, more than ever, we need projects like this as part of our economic recovery. And the financial impact that it will have during construction and after the building is over is something that, again, not only the companies that will be working directly on the project itself, but that spills over into so many other industries within our community. And it truly is, couldn't be a better time to start a project of this magnitude. So if you can't tell that after all this time, I'm still excited about York coming to the city of Markham, then I guess it's just been lost in the translation in this Zoom meeting, and I apologize, but I just want to say to the whole York team, thank you. We look forward to those doors opening up, because when they do, it'll open up a beautiful university in the city of Markham, but it's going to open up tremendous potential for our youth in this community. Congratulations, one and all.
Thank you, Mayor Scarpitti. And I will say that was definitely enthusiasm, and we very much appreciate your support. So I'm going to turn it over to President Lenton, who's going to do a presentation so that everyone on the town hall can see our plans and what we have, what we hoped will open our doors in the fall of 2023. So I'll turn it over to President Lenton.
Thank you. Mayor Scarpitti, thank you so much for your warm words. You're always so enthusiastic about the project. Really appreciate that. I know that we want to leave time for questions and answers, and so I'm going to try to go through the deck fairly quickly, but we did want to capture your imagination a little bit better. And so if we could just go to the first slide. And what I'm probably going to do, if you'll just give me 1 second. There we go. It's going to actually let me see it. So this really just sort of captures the path that we were on from 2014. And it's hard to imagine that it took us this long to kind of get those shovels in the ground. You know, that when the government first put out a call for new capital projects, the whole idea was around the understanding that there was going to be growth of that 18 to 24-year-old population. There was going to be a greater demand. And they knew that they needed to be thinking about how they could expand university campuses. And out of 19 universities that put in a bid, York was the only project that actually got approved from that RFP. And you'll see the timeline here that we went through, the planning, the design, getting very excited to break ground, having a little bit of a challenge with, unfortunately, the province having to deal with their own financial challenges, withdrawing the capital contribution, but at the same time inviting us to come back if we could fulfill and manage to replace that capital contribution with a commitment to come through with the operating, which they did, and we're very grateful for that. And it was finally the new plan was approved by the Board of Governors. And then we had, as was mentioned in my opening remarks, this wonderful groundbreaking in the fall of 2020. Despite some of the challenges, of course, which we never want to minimize with the pandemic, we've nevertheless managed to bring this wonderful project through to get those shovels in the ground. So on the next slide here, I hope someone's going to move to the next slide. Okay, there we go. This is just a kind of a visual location of where the actual Markham Center campus is located. And you know, it's a wonderful location, and it was designed in part, and why the Markham bid was so attractive, to really partner and collaborate with the existing infrastructure that was in Markham, that not only kind of brings all of these students into use, the resources, the services in Markham, restaurants and so forth, but it also means that the university doesn't necessarily have to build all of its own from all of the facilities. So this is really a great collaborative model that is going to solidify our partnership in Markham. And it reflects just how excited we are more than anything at this project with the opportunity that this is bringing us to strengthen our relationship and our partnership in Markham and York region more broadly. So the next slide, we wanted to show you a little bit of that actual groundbreaking. When we announced, when we actually had the shovel in the ground, you'll see a picture there in the left corner of Chris Brady. Incredibly grateful to the Brady family for making a strong initial donation of $10 million towards the Markham campus, and helping us encourage others to line up and to support the philanthropy around the building. So we're very grateful to the entire Brady family. Just go to the next slide. So look, this is what, was the promise of the Markham Center campus. We wanted it to be located in a provincial urban growth area. It had to respond to the demographic growth that was happening. So many of our students at York University, many of them need to work part-time while they're going to university. So it can be really important for them to be able to have access to universities in their area where they can live at home. And so this is going to support all of those students. In addition, though, it will attract international students as well and bringing new students into York region. We intend to graduate globally educated citizens, and that's really going to support the 15,000 net new jobs every year that is predicted for York region. It's proximate to 5 designated provincially significant employment zones, and it is going to be a significant catalyst for investment in Markham and York region. It'll attract new residences, it'll attract new businesses, and it's going to contribute to building a sustainable and resilient city. I just want to say that I met this morning with Toronto Global, a company that, supports businesses that want to come into Toronto. And one of the top factors that companies ask about is the personnel, is the talent that I'm going to need going to be available? So having a university located right in Markham, in York region, is an incredibly important asset. Next slide. This is just some facts about the campus and what it's managing to do. 2,000 plus new jobs, $12.8 million in provincial taxes during the construction phase. And then after construction, 315 employed on campus. That could be potentially opportunities for people who live in Markham, who live in York region. Those positions will be advertised. 5.6 million is going to be generated in annual income to the province, and probably around 250 jobs indirect or induced by the new campus. So all in all, this campus is going to be contributing $350 million during construction and $54 million annually to the provincial gross domestic product. Next slide. I think my provost and vice president academic is going to provide a bit more details on the programs later on, and we know there's a lot of interest in those. But I want to just emphasize that we wanted this campus to really respond to the emerging talent pipeline needs on the part of employers, and also what our students were really asking for and demanding. So the campus is industry focused. The academic areas of study have strong themes based on technology and entrepreneurship. And we all know that technology is influencing virtually every sector. It doesn't matter if it's the economy or if it's arts, media, performance, and design. The whole digitization of so many sectors has to be reflected in the academic programming that we're offering. So on the right, you see, as reflected in the titles of these programs, digital media arts, management, entrepreneurship, and financial technology, a master's degree in administration and law, municipal governance, computer science, which will have a very strong focus as well on technology. So those are the programs on the right. But I want to add that in addition to the degree programs, we know that there are, because of automation and AI, there are a significant number of jobs people that are jobs that are disappearing and people who are going to have to upgrade or reskill. So there's going to be a strong continuing studies focus here as well for those mature working professionals who just need to come in and potentially get a very specific set of skills or a microcredit, for example, that is going to help them transition into new job opportunities. Next slide. I've already mentioned that the programs really reflect the labor market needs and how they're going to focus around technology. Another strong theme is entrepreneurship skills, because we know that in a very large number of individuals now, they're starting up their own companies. SMEs are an incredibly important component of the economy. And we have many students who actually ask us, look, can I also, get some entrepreneurship skills? I'm thinking about starting up my own company. So that will also be strongly supported on this campus. And it will really permeate, these themes will permeate all the disciplines and a wide range of new economy jobs. Of course, we've made a commitment from the get-go that all these programs, of course, will be, high quality. The campus will obviously support both teaching and learning and research and innovation. We also made a commitment that all the programs at the Markham campus would incorporate experiential education or work integrated learning. This is part of the larger strategy for York University in really helping students connect with their career interests. Take the next slide. When we think about student success, this is a framing of York University as a whole. One of our top priorities in our university academic plan is supporting students from the access point of attracting the students and making sure that no talent is left behind, but then supporting them and their success all the way through to graduation. And part of that involves personalized and student-directed learning, using a whole range of delivery. So how can you enhance, whether or not it's completely online or it's in person? If it is in person, how can you use technology enhanced learning to really support the diverse kinds of ways in which students learn? We're obviously in a very unique situation right now with the pandemic. However, we have invested hugely in online education because of the pandemic, and post-pandemic now we can take all of those learnings and apply that to the programs at Markham so that students get the best of both worlds, in-person and online resources. I've mentioned experiential education, inquiry-based learning, really making sure that our students have those transferable skills, critical thinking, problem-based inquiry, communication skills that frankly, they're going to increasingly need in a world where 10 years from now, we don't really even know the jobs that are going to exist. So we want students to have those flexible skills and that agility built into their programs. And I've already mentioned the entrepreneurship. Next slide. So a little bit about the design. We were targeting to achieve LEED Gold certification. York has a very strong commitment to our carbon footprint and to sustainability. We're also very committed to, and some of the themes that we had around this building also included indigeneity and how we could incorporate that in the building. The floor, the 10 floors, really were intended to make sure that they could accommodate highly flexible teaching and learning. It's all clustered around a very dynamic multi-story atrium. And that ability to shift the building and have it flexible is incredibly important because, from automation, AI, the pandemic, this is having a huge impact on higher education, the whole sector. And we have to be able to pivot about how we deliver programming, be that much more flexible, be able to support our students, no matter if they can come in person or not. So we wanted the building to be able to adapt as we go along over the next number of years. It's an organic building form, fully accessible. Campus accessibility is another major theme for all of our buildings when we put them up. And really establishing a strong visual identity for the university in Markham. And you heard the mayor before, even when we were facing some challenges around the financing, the commitment that he was asking us for was that we made sure that we retained this iconic building, and that's what we've managed to do. Next slide. This is just now a little bit of a few pictures of the actual Markham Center campus design. It shows you the actual beauty of the campus, but also surrounding area, which is very important for students and staff and faculty when they want to come out, and the outside can sometimes be as important as the inside. Next slide. This is just a nice evening shot of what it might look like in the evening. And of course, although the outside can be as important as the inside's pretty important as well. And so here are some shots of the inside. York has a particular color palette in addition to the red, and that color palette is linked to our different faculties. So we really wanted to pull in the color palette inside the building. Can we take a look at the next slide? These are just a few shots, and it gives you a sense of making sure we've got open spaces for people to gather, for students to meet and to study and to sit and talk with one another, but also the potential to bring the outside community in to hold events on the campus. That was all a consideration for the campus. So here's our timeline now. We have, as I said, we're now in the ground, and the goal here is to have the building completion by August of 2023 so that we can open those doors for a cohort coming in September of 2023. And if I'm not mistaken, we have a bit of a video that we wanted just to show you. If we could just activate that, and then we are going to open it up for the rest of the agenda. Hello, my name is Rhonda Lenton, and I am the President and Vice Chancellor of York University. I'm standing here today on the site of what is going to be our new Markham Center campus. Scheduled to open in the fall of 2023, this new campus will be an opportunity to advance the teaching and research mission of the university and to help us intensify the already strong relationships that we have in the city of Markham and York region. Located close to downtown Markham and easily accessible by transit, our new campus will allow students to study close to home in a small, state-of-the-art campus setting.
The new campus building will create a landmark destination for York students and community partners. The unique building design with fully accessible campus landscaping provides a strong visual presence for the new Markham Center campus. Abundant green space, bird-friendly windows, and high-performance state-of-the-art construction will help lower energy demand while strengthening York's commitment to sustainability. 10 floors of highly flexible teaching and learning spaces are clustered around a dynamic multi-story atrium. Large and small common areas are dotted throughout the building, providing spaces for students to study, meet, and collaborate. Natural materials, sunlight, and warm, stimulating colors enhance students' well-being. The multi-faith space, Indigenous Learning Circle, as well as enhanced accessibility features, create a friendly, welcoming environment for the entire York community. Our innovative academic programs will focus on digital technologies, entrepreneurship, new media, and communications. They will give students the knowledge and transferable skills to successfully contribute to creating positive change in our rapidly changing society. Experiential learning opportunities, including internships and work placements, will allow students to collaborate directly with potential employers and community partners in the region.
We are excited to be building our new Markham Center campus. We will be ready to respond to the needs of future generations of students and contribute to the long-term economic growth of the city and the region.
Well, thank you, President Linton, for that fantastic overview of our new campus. I know that many people in tonight's audience have questions, so I'd like to move to that portion of tonight's events. We have already received a number of questions from attendees, and we encourage you, if you have questions, to use the Q&A function in Zoom at the bottom of your screen, the chat function in YouTube, or through our dedicated email address, markham@yorku.ca. So I'm going to start off with our first question, who comes to us from Kathy, who is a York alumna. And her question is, does York have plans to expand programs in the future? So not only the programs that you just talked about, President Lenton, but beyond sort of phase one. And the secondary question is, with Bill Carruthers Secondary School in close proximity and with such an emphasis placed on physical health and well-being, is there a consideration to expand programming to include kinesiology and athletic therapy?
So I think I'm going to ask the provost, Lisa Phillips, if she could elaborate a bit on the programming plans.
Yes, I'd be happy to. And Kathy, hello. I think I might be able to guess what program you might have graduated from at York University. We absolutely will be starting with the programs that you saw in the president's slide deck and building from there. There will absolutely be additional programs added over time. I can't say that there's been any decision to add kinesiology or the athletic therapy program at this time, but it's certainly not out of the question. And you make a very excellent connection to not only Bill Carruthers, but also the Pan Am Center, which is so close by, the Y. There's all sorts of other ways that partnerships could facilitate something like that. I want to mention, though, that even at the very start, even in September 2023, you saw the list of majors that a student can enroll in. But those will be surrounded by a whole suite of elective opportunities and different kinds of courses for students to participate in that will allow them to broaden out their education, so that they may be in an engineering or a creative technologies program, but they will also have opportunities to study other subjects, to learn with students in other programs, so that they can really start to explore what the full range of their interests might be, what kind of a minor they might want to do, what kind of a certificate they might want to add, how they might want to combine and customize really the program that they most want. So I'll stop there for now. I'd be happy to elaborate at a later time.
Thank you for that, Lisa. Our next question comes from Alan, who is a future student who's very excited about the new campus and would like to know when registration will open.
You know, if we're hoping to have students in doors open on September 2023, you would be basically having to apply for one of the programs that was being offered at Markham by no later than January of 2023. And because that's sort of the deadline for applying. And then offers would go out in March, and then students would start registering in courses, you know, sometime after that, over the summer before the fall and the doors open. So that's kind of the timeline for the programs there. I'm so glad I got that right, Lisa. Counting backwards is always tough.
Thank you for that. Our next question comes from Beanie, who is a Markham resident, and they would like to know if the campus will be offering complete programs, or whether they will have to do some of their completion at one of our other campuses.
Lisa?
Yes, almost all of the programs, the degree programs, will be complete at Markham, in the sense that students will have the ability to complete the degree from start to finish at the Markham campus if they wish. That might include a mix of in-person courses, experiential learning opportunities, possibly a co-op placement, possibly some online courses as well. However, I do want to reassure people as well that if a student decides that they would like to explore beyond the Markham campus to some of the offerings at our Kiel campus or our Glendon campus, that will also be open to them. We do have a couple of first-year foundation programs, which will not be entirely completable at the Markham campus. So we will have a first-year Foundations in Science program and a first-year Foundations in Engineering program. So students who wish to proceed further in those degree programs would need to move to the Kiel campus of the university to complete that. But we do hope in the future that it will become increasingly possible to complete even those degrees at the Markham campus.
Thank you for that, Lisa. Our next question comes live from the audience. Peter, your mic will be turned on and you can ask your question.
Yes, thank you. My question is about transportation and students and I guess staff also. Do you have any idea how many students will live nearby and hence be able to walk or cycle to the campus versus how many will take transit to campus versus how many will drive to campus? And the supplemental would be, where are they going to park?
So I'm going to start off, but then I think I'm going to flip it to Gary or Carol, whoever thinks that they can manage that question. What I want to say is that we could potentially start to try to make estimates about that based on our experience at the Kiel campus, although I'd have to ask, Carol about that. It's hard to know for sure, but the whole design in part of this campus was that we really knew that there was going to be a lot of local demand. So I would say that we are anticipating that there's going to be quite a high percentage of our students who are local students and who might well be able to bike. A consideration that we had about this campus is just even like bike pathways and how to facilitate and support students who might want to bike or walk to campus. And even though the campus will likely attract a certain percentage of international students, similarly, those international students are going to want to live locally. So likely all of those students will be able to, there'll be a fairly high percentage. It is possible though, of course, that you might get some students, much further afield. I mean, at the Kiel campus and at Glendon, we get students from all over, from right downtown, from Scarborough, from out west, from Peel region. We really get students from all over. So some number of them may drive, although I have to say a consideration of choosing this site was how it was a transportation hub. So public transportation is so easy to the campus that, in the name of sustainability, we might hope that a number of our students who live or our staff, faculty who live further afield might actually take public transportation. But I'm going to turn now to Carol or Gary, whoever can answer that.
Well, maybe I'll start with talking about transportation and parking, and then ask Gary to talk a little bit about what the work we're doing to provide some housing close by to the campus, which will also then affect how students get to campus if they live very close by. With respect to transportation, as the president just said, we will be leveraging existing routes because it is a transportation hub. It's just a wonderful location to be able to leverage public transportation, both the GO station, the York Region Transit, and then Viva across Highway 7. As well, we will be working with local transit providers to talk about the opportunity to provide shuttles between our Kiel campus and the Markham campus, as we currently do between our Glendon campus and the Kiel campus. So just to allow a pretty free movement of our faculty, staff, and students among our campuses. With respect to parking, there is very limited parking right on the site. We provided, again, part of our sustainability strategy, we provided for parking for those with accessibility challenges, those that need to be able to park very close to be able to access the buildings. Accessibility is another key theme that permeates our design of this campus. There will also be electric car vehicle charging stations very close to campus or in the same area as accessibility parking, as well as parking simply for or areas for drop off and pick up and for service vehicles. But we also are working with the city of Markham to provide another 1,000 spaces of parking very close to the campus. And that was part of our original discussions with the city of Markham, and another great partnership for to make this Markham the absolute best place for this campus to be. I think the mayor might want to say something. I see you reaching, and then Gary might want to talk a bit about the work we're doing on with the local commercial community on student housing.
So yeah, I was reaching to turn on my microphone. I wasn't trying to usurp the process here, but just to quickly add, well, Peter knows very well how well the site is serviced by current transit or future transit, but it's great to review it for everyone. And I was going to touch on the fact that you will, if not already, have a proposal out for student housing, which will be in very close proximity to the campus. And yes, the city is currently looking at some options now with regards to parking nearby. And fair to say, like any downtown core, that'll evolve over time, right? Where there might be surface parking today, in several years' time, there won't be. And so over time, those parking opportunities get absorbed within other structures, be they for public transit or potentially for commercial properties. It'll be, I'm sure, a combination of a number of things as the plan evolves.
And Gary, our president of YUDC, or York University Development Corporation, did you want to add anything on the student housing project?
I can, Rhonda, and as I say, that's about all that's left, because I think we've clarified you can walk there, you can bike there, you can drive there, you can transit there, but can you live there? And as the mayor and Carol have indicated, yes. This is a project which we're currently working on now within the university to put together requirements and a specification for what we would put to the market to develop a purpose-built student residence to serve this Markham Center campus. And this is a process that we've been working on for several months now. And in terms of timing, we hope to get this to the market actually later this spring. We'll work our way through the process by the fall, hopefully have a sense as to where we're going. The target opening date right now, it's an aggressive date, I think, but to provide a little bit of timing would be September of 2024. So within a year of opening the academic building and starting the activity on the campus, hopefully within a year, and certainly by 2, we would hope to be in a position to have a student residence where students choosing to live at their campus could do so.
Thank you for that, Gary. I have 2 questions that are on the same sort of theme, so I'm going to combine them. So Maria would like to know if priority will be given to the hiring of Markham residents. And Angela would like to know if the library will be hiring new staff at the Markham site.
I'm wondering, Carol, if our Vice President of Finance and Administration might be able to comment on the staff hiring issue.
Sure, I'm happy to. Our hiring practices will be followed as they exist to ensure that the most qualified candidates for our campus are hired. Of course, we have very strong affirmative action and programs and a great commitment as a university to equity, diversity, and inclusion. So those values guide our hiring as well. But we have quite developed and well-published practices with respect to hiring, and a lot of those you can find on the website of the university. So I welcome you to take a look there.
And the question about the libraries, I wasn't quite sure. Would you mind repeating that piece of the question, Jade?
Angela was wondering if we will have a library at the Markham campus, and if so, will it be hiring staff?
So I'm going to turn it over to the provost, but one thing I want to say about libraries is that the very nature of libraries is evolving over time as well at universities. And especially, I think historically people might have thought about libraries as places where collections were kept, and then maybe articles and government resources. But increasingly in universities, libraries are places that learning commons are organized, sometimes teaching commons. So it's really a place where students come and can get a whole range of different kinds of supports, from essay writing to how to do research papers and so forth. So a library is an incredibly important component of a university. And on that note, I will turn it over to the provost to describe what we have in mind.
Yes, thank you. And absolutely, the library that's been designed for the Markham Center campus is going to be at the very cutting edge of the trends that the president just described. We will have a maker space in the library for students to do hands-on projects where they're designing and creating prototypes. We will have a visualization space where you can take data and present it in different ways for different audiences. Create videos or visual presentations to show to make the points that you're trying to get across to an audience. It will have collaboration space, design thinking space, space for students to work together. It will have obviously access to expert librarians who will be able to guide students to various sources of information, whether they be in print or online, and to work with that information literacy, the ability to actually seek out and collate and synthesize and curate information is of course fundamental to just about all future jobs. And so developing those skills, the libraries will be a crucial space for that kind of digital literacy. We'll also hope to invite members of the public in for speaking events, for researchers to present, and invite the community in to really be part of the whole knowledge mobilization, mission of the university, and to hear from some of the students, some of the faculty who are working there. And so our library is going to be an incredibly dynamic, amazing space. And it will take up a significant footprint in the building, actually. It's going to be a core central space where learning will happen, where group projects will happen. And there will certainly be staff hiring going on. I really encourage you, as Carol suggested, to go on the York University website and get familiar with the careers, York University careers portion of the website, and jobs would certainly be posted there on that website. When we get a little closer to opening, we're just starting with a few initial hires right now, mostly faculty members who are taking a leadership role in developing some of our programs, but staff hiring will start as well in the coming months.
Thank you for that, Lisa. And I have one more hiring question that comes to us from Brenda, and she would like to know the number of full-time and part-time jobs that we expect to fill at the Markham campus.
I'm going to turn that over to the provost as well, because of course we've got a beginning slate, but then as the programs grow, we'll have to hire more. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Lisa.
Yeah, I believe that we're expecting within the first few years, maybe after 5 years or so, that we would have around 100 faculty and staff employed at the campus. That depends in part on how the program growth proceeds and what more we might figure out that we want to do at the campus. So around 100 in the first few years would be a ballpark estimate.
Thank you for that, Lisa. We received a question from Frank, who's a Markham business owner. And his question is, what services will the Markham campus provide to support startup Markham IT companies? And how might these services link up with the work that's already going on at York through the BEST Lab?
So would our Vice President Research and Innovation like to answer that question?
Certainly, Rhonda, thank you. Frank, your question has two components, so I will endeavor to answer them one by one. First, with respect to services for startup IT companies on the Markham Center campus, I'm very pleased to state that innovation, entrepreneurship, research partnerships, experiential education, and knowledge transfer are key elements in our plans for the Markham Center campus. Even now, York University provides entrepreneurship support in Markham through its innovation hub, Y-Space Markham, a 10,000 square feet physical incubator located down the street from where the Markham Center campus is located. Y-Space Markham continues to offer a variety of programs for startups and entrepreneurs, including one-on-one consultation services for entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship workshops, support for early stage technology ventures to develop and validate a full proof of concept, support for pre-revenue technologies to develop and execute the go-to-market strategies, and focus program for our minority population, such as women entrepreneurs. In addition, we are also very proud of Y-Space Digital that offers online training modules and webinars for entrepreneurs at different stages of the entrepreneurial journey, irrespective of the location. So the programs that I've mentioned will be continued and in fact strengthened at the Markham Center campus. With the presence of our faculty members and researchers, there will be additional opportunities to collaborate with the top experts working in IT areas, as well as social innovation related to the startups. Now, moving to the second part of your question, we have mechanisms in place to ensure that those on campus delivering curricular and co-curricular entrepreneurship programming are connected and working together. The Strategic Entrepreneurship Council enables strong collaboration between the BEST Lab that you mentioned, Y-Space, and other entrepreneurship initiatives in the university, such as Schulich startups, to provide a network of support. A startup like the one that you have mentioned, working with any of the York's entrepreneurship initiative, will continue to receive support from other university entrepreneurship offices. Finally, as I previously mentioned, regardless of your location, Y-Space Digital will continue to provide online support to aspiring and established entrepreneurs, irrespective of the location. So the answer to you, the short answer to your question is yes, we will. And that is indeed the focus of Markham Center campus.
Jade, if you don't mind, I just wanted to add one comment. You know, increasingly universities now are incredibly important players in supporting the entire innovation ecosystem in a region, in a province, in the country. And, you know, York, some years back, also supported, was one of the founders of Venture Lab as well, because we very much see that we have a responsibility to support our entrepreneurs who happen to be students or staff or faculty, but we are there to also support entrepreneurs that live in and work in York region. And so we want to connect not only our own innovation hubs with one another, whether or not they're on the Glendon campus or the Keele campus or the Markham campus, Y-Space, but we also want to connect our innovation hubs with the broader innovation ecosystem that is in Markham, in York region, and in the province. So there's just tremendous opportunity, and there's so much demand that we need to actually meet. This is a very exciting expansion that you see, you know, certainly within the GTA universities and further afield.
Thank you for that, President Linton. Our next question comes from the audience, and they're interested in hearing a little bit about what the anticipated split will be between domestic and international students that will enroll on this campus.
Generally speaking, York University has about 18 to 20% international, and that's pretty steady whether or not you're talking about undergraduate or a graduate, slight variations. And that's a strategic position that we've taken for the university as a whole in terms of what's the right balance between, first and foremost, always ensuring that we're meeting the domestic need for all qualified students who want to come to York University, but also making sure that we're attracting the best from around the world. You know, it's increasingly important in a global knowledge economy that all students, frankly, have an appreciation for or have some opportunity to experience or to have global experiences. And not all of our students, you know, can kind of afford to go away and have an international experience. So we also build internationalization into the curriculum for those students who, are not going to be able to do that. And having international students on campus not only brings that talent into York Region, and I'm sure that many of you know that Canada relies fairly heavily on immigrants to support the labor market as well. And students who come in, immigrants who come in as students or as part of families and then come to university here, they're able to get relevant work integrated learning experience, in some cases to strengthen their English skills, but also to get the Canadian credentials that they need to ensure that they're able to move into, career opportunities. So no matter whether or not you're talking about the need to bring in students, but also just to enhance the learning, the environment, the culture of the entire university, we've really kind of landed on about 20% as a good break between domestic and international. And therefore, we would expect to see approximately that same percentage, that same ratio at the Markham Center campus.
Thank you, President Lenton. Our next question, I think, is for the mayor. What is the plan for traffic flow in the area, and what future developments are planned for the area that surrounds the Markham Center campus?
So a couple things that may not be so evident to people, but actually the city of Markham has been very proactive in advancing infrastructure in this area. Had we left it up sort of to just the development community, they typically upfront infrastructure when they're ready to build. And fair to say, I think you can see that while some buildings have taken place, what you see there today is in many respects really the beginnings of, as I said, a very multi-use community. And between Warden and Kennedy, south of 7, north of 407, the current secondary plan calls for 40,000 people to live there and 40,000 people to eventually work there. So in terms of the infrastructure, we actually, in cooperation, but it took also the city's participation, advanced the extension of Enterprise Drive all the way out to Kennedy Road. Again, if we typically waited for development to do that, it would have been years from now, probably, till they collectively, we either would have collected the money through development charges, or they would have been in a position to advance that roadway. We also extended Birchmount Road and went under the rail line just south of Enterprise Drive a few years ago, and connected Enterprise, or connected Birchmount rather, so it goes all the way up to Highway 7. And there's more road network as part of the plan. We're actually reviewing some of that right now because the secondary plan is being updated. And in fact, there's been about 30% more area added to the Markham Center secondary plan. So we're reviewing some of the road network, but I think the other major infrastructure that I know you've noticed is the bus rapid transit way. And so you have that system now built along Highway 7. It goes along Enterprise. We're currently working with one of the developers in the area, Remington, which is building new condos and retail space in and around the existing Marriott Hotel. So we're actually trying to work with them in advancing another piece of the bus rapid transit way. That bus rapid transit way will ultimately be designed and built to hook up to the Unionville GO station. The buses go there today, but it'll be more of the bus rapid transit system that will be connected to Unionville, and then eventually out to Kennedy Road, north on Kennedy, all the way along Highway 7. So really a true connection with the bus rapid transit way, not just within Markham Center, but connecting it to other parts of the region. There's also improvements that are happening to the GO rail line. And when I got on council some years ago, we were pushing for all-day GO service. That's over 30 years ago now. And we just got all-day GO service just a few years ago. There's more improvements happening to those tracks and to Unionville GO Station. And eventually we're going to have 15-minute service that will be on that line. And depending on the type of technology and trains that Metrolinx will ultimately decide upon, because they are looking at electrifying the GO line, that could create as much or more capacity than a subway, depending on the trains that get ultimately picked. So, and then the other one that's off into the future, but again, a very important piece. There is already an environmental assessment that's completed for an east-west transitway along the whole corridor of 407 from east to west. So the EA is done, I believe, just to in and around 9th line, maybe a little bit further east of 9th line and everything west. And so that is also going to be a transit line that will service this area. And to be quite honest, we need that type of transit system to be able to deal with the eventual population and the workforce that will be coming to this area. And there's widenings happening on Kennedy Road. I'm not going to get into a more detailed explanation, but last year finally got Regional Council to agree to put 1% of the tax increase towards an acceleration of road widenings and improvements. And the one of the more imminent projects is Kennedy Road, north of the YMCA, all the way up to Highway 7. That RFP, again, if it hasn't been, it'll be on the street shortly to start. We awarded the RFP, just came to me. We awarded the RFP for the design work for the widening, which again will accommodate a future bus rapid transit line in that section. So that's sort of a quick overview of all the transportation networks that'll feed into that area.
Thank you, Mayor Scarpitti. Our next question comes from a Markham business owner, and he is very excited and would like to hire some interns from York University. And I'm wondering, Lisa, if you might be able to just speak about that process at York and how it might align with some of the programs that are being offered at Markham.
Yes, thank you very much for the chance to speak to that, because experiential education is going to be a major theme that's running through all of the programs that are offered at the Markham Center campus. I believe that I read perhaps a question from this same person when I was preparing for this evening. And I think there was a mention of some specific interests around software development, possibly digital marketing, possibly management. And I want to say that actually the programs that we're offering through this campus would include all of those areas of expertise, perhaps with not exactly the same program names, but there will be a master's in the management area. There will be a program in communications with an emphasis on social media and public relations. There will be a creative technologies program with an emphasis on design and art in a technologically driven media world. So there will be a software engineering program. So there will definitely be students who might have the skills that you're seeking, but I want to very much encourage that people who are businesses who are interested in working with students at York University, come and get in touch with us now. Because in fact, not very far away from Markham, we have our Kiel campus, which has a wealth of programs, many internship and co-op programs built into curricula, and many students who are very keen to get involved. We have some excellent supports, staff members who will help to make the appropriate connections, post the positions, find where in the university those students might be sitting that you're looking for, whether they're third-year students, fourth-year students. So you can Google YU Experience Hub would be one place to start. But I hope that we've given you an email address, I believe, and if you want to email us, we will definitely get back to you and link you up with somebody who could get you a student before 2023.
Thank you for that, Lisa. The next question comes from Melissa, who's a Markham resident. And she would like to know whether or not the programs that we'll be offering at Markham will have a degree of flexibility of combining programs. And she provides an example at the University of Guelph where a student could take a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and also combine this with engineering, and they would come out with an honors Bachelor of Agricultural Engineering. And would like to know whether or not something similar could be done at the Markham campus, or what in particular sets the programs at Markham up as unique and apart from others.
Lisa?
Yes, I would say that it's very much in the spirit of this campus that we want students to be able to combine different subject matters and also to work together and experience what it's like to look at a problem from different perspectives. So if you're in, a computer science program, you also need to be able to have some familiarity with design principles and the way that visualization is used to assist in design and in problem solving. And so we do absolutely foresee students being able to combine different elements of the programs that are at the campus. We also have some, I think, pretty creative program features in mind that we're developing. In particular, we've become leaders in what's known as capstone courses. And this is an opportunity for students, usually in one of their upper years, to get together with a team of students, a team of faculty from a whole bunch of different fields and perspectives, and actually look at a problem that has been brought to them by a business or a community agency. Some kind of real life issue, research problem, design problem, solution that the organization is looking for, that they can come to the university and work with a team of students and faculty members to work on, let's understand everything we can about that problem from many different fields of expertise. And let's start to try and figure out what could we do to assist this organization with their problem. So it's like a consulting project in an upper year that allows students to then really start to apply what they've learned, but in a very real life way where you're working with teams. You're not only working with people who have the exact same background as you, you're having to reach across an organization that you're working with or to other organizations and fill in the gaps to really look at a complex problem from many different directions. And so we think that capstone projects are going to become increasingly important for students because it does allow them that opportunity to work in teams collaboratively, to work creatively on problem solving. And we're finding that many students are starting to get involved with this at our current programs, and we intend to make this a major feature of our programs at the Markham Center campus. So I'll stop there. I don't know whether the president wanted to add anything, or Amir, Carol, Gary.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll just add, so we, in terms of research, we have a very strong, we have a very strong plan for research excellence at the Markham Center campus. And the reason I mentioned that was that will also provide opportunities to both our undergraduate and graduate students to work on applied research problems, in collaboration with industry. And depending upon the area, it could be tech-related problems, it could be problems related to social innovation, it could be problem related to directly to issues that are important to society. So there will be a wealth of opportunities available on the Markham Center campus for our students.
Thank you, Lisa and Amir. Our next question comes from Angela, who's in the audience this evening, and she would like to know if the Markham campus will have sports or gym facilities.
Carol or Gary? Carol?
I'll start, and I'm sure that Gary will jump in if there's other things to add. Basic idea of the Markham Center campus is that we are part of the community and we leverage things that are happening in the community besides what's to enrich the life of students, faculty, and staff on the Markham campus. So There won't be specific athletic facilities within the building that we're building that we've shown you, but we have started to plan the athletic program. It is to be a full athletic program for our students, and we'll be starting to work with local organizations such as the Pan Am Center, perhaps the Y, or other gyms. Gary mentioned earlier our work on developing a student residence close to the campus, and we're also exploring whether there'll be athletic facilities in that building. So again, those that are leveraging what the community can provide. Of course, there's such a beautiful opportunities for outdoors sports and the like, in the Rouge River Trails. The Bill Carruthers School is right across the road with the sports emphasis, and so we look forward to the opportunities to discuss with the school board the possibility of partnering on some of their facilities as well. And I guess the other thing I would add is that university communities are so creative. We find our students and our faculty and staff just springing up with things. We've got beautiful outdoor space where I wouldn't be surprised if you'll see games just spontaneously start, or a Tai Chi class or yoga classes inside. Those things happen regularly on university campuses, and I think that that will all enhance the physical and physical and mental and emotional well-being of our students, faculty, and staff, as well as hopefully the community, as our students and other members of our community there interact with the broader community. So the shorter answer is we're hoping to work within the community to provide the athletic facilities for our faculty, staff, and students.
Thank you for that, Carol. Our next question comes from Joseph, and he's a Markham resident, and he is wondering about the transit connection that would exist between our three campuses, being Keele, Glendon, and Markham.
Yeah, I'll only say before I pass it off that there's a tremendous amount of traffic that goes between the Glendon campus and the Keele campus already. And part of that, although students can fully complete their programs at either campus, and that's our commitment for Markham as well, is that students will just tend to look at the whole range of courses that are available at either the Glendon or the Keele campus. And if they see a course that happens to work better for their schedule, or it's just a unique course that's being offered at one campus or the other, they'll often sign up. And we give all of our students full access to any of our courses. Of course, some courses have certain kinds of prerequisites to them, but students are not limited by the campus that they happen to be attending. So that will be the same for the Markham Center campus. That students will be able to have access. And so because of that, like we do now between Keele and Glendon, we are very concerned that students can move back and forth between our campuses quite easily. We do have our own buses that go between the Keele campus and Glendon, but I would say that we're also trying to work with the local transportation services to see what the best model might be. But perhaps I could pass it off to our VPFA again to elaborate a bit on our design.
Sure, thank you. And I think the mayor spoke about this too, about the transportation routes. As the president just said, the most sustainable mode of travel is the one we're most interested in. So whether it be leveraging the public transportation that's already available, working with the regional transportation providers to enhance routes that will serve the needs, as long as it makes sense to those providers, providing shuttles of our own buses, if that's required, to ensure that the needs of our community are met. Certainly wanting to encourage walkable and bikeable transportation routes from Markham, other parts of Markham in the area to the campus will also be very important. At the Keele campus and Glendon campuses, for some time, we've had a commitment to try and reduce our use of the automobile, to really to walk our talk about sustainability and having complete communities. So we hope to have the same at Markham, that that campus will too represent the values of of integrated communities and sustainability.
Thank you for that, Carol. Our next question comes from Angela, and Angela is just wondering about the impact that COVID has had on the construction for the campus, and if anything has been impacted at all.
The impact of the pandemic on the construction?
Yes.
I'm going to turn it over to, not to my knowledge, but I'm going to turn it over maybe to Gary to let us know how that's going.
I can, and it's obviously a very important question in this context that we find ourselves in. In terms of the construction project, our Markham Centre campus construction is under provincial regulation considered to be essential construction. So we have been able to carry on with our construction activity. Obviously, one of the critical factors that allow that construction to continue is that our construction manager and all of the people that are working on that site adhere to very strict operating protocols to ensure the health and safety of the workers on the site. And that is one area that I think our construction manager, Stuart Olson, is doing very well. They work on a number of sites across Canada and in Ontario. They're very familiar with what the regulations are. The site is visited by ministry inspectors to ensure that we're working in a manner that is safe for everyone involved. And at this point, those inspections have not turned up any concerns, and so our work is continuing as scheduled.
That's great to hear, Gary. Thank you so much. Our next question comes from Sandra, who's a York alumna, and she was wondering about the fact that because of the pandemic, many of the courses that the university offers are currently being offered online. And what impact do we feel that might have in terms of demand for in-person versus online classes once this pandemic comes to an end?
You know, I really want to emphasize a point that I made in my earlier remarks, and that is that to some extent, the pandemic hasn't so much changed the direction of planning and delivery at universities as it has accelerated some considerations or trends that were already starting because of the impact of automation and AI on jobs, and therefore an increasing number of mature working professionals who need access to flexible education in order to upgrade or reskill. So there's always been, and there has been for quite some time, a certain number of students who really want access to online courses and fully online when I say that. But I think that because of the huge investment and because of the pandemic, what has happened is that so many colleagues now necessarily had to take themselves some workshops online. We've learned more about how to do online well. And because under what we know around universal design, you know, students learn in very different ways. And sometimes having greater access to online resources can be incredibly valuable, even if you're doing your course in person. Sometimes having access to all the recorded lectures that students could go back, even if they were in person, and listen to several different times and stop the tape and, you know, and think about what the professor has been saying. These can be great aids. So what we do know from the majority of our students is that they are very keen to be back on our campuses. You know, students come not only for their career, although that's obviously a first and foremost consideration, but they come for the whole package. They want the university experience. They want access to the co-curricular activities. They want to meet people and hang out together. We have hundreds of different clubs at the university, and although many of these activities, if not all of them, continued even online, I want to give a lot of credit to all of our student leaders and our student clubs who kept activities going online. It's not quite the same as having that in-person experience. So, you know, the entire university is keen for when we are able to fully open our campuses. You know, even this fall, we're going to be increasing access to in-person. And so I think everyone is fairly optimistic that by 2023, that we will be back to, you know, some type of new normal. Whether or not it'll be old normal or something that looks a little bit different, it's hard to say, but the campuses will be fully open. So we're not expecting any difficulty with offering in-person classes. But having said that, we really want to take all the learnings from all this time that we have delivered programs online and all of the input that we've received from students through our student surveys about what worked well and what didn't work well, so that at the new campus, like our Kiel campus and Glendon campus, there's always a certain number of courses that are offered online because there's a certain level of demand for online courses. And hopefully we're actually going to be able to do that even better. And there also may be more courses that follow a hybrid model. Now that, you know, professors have seen how they can actually deliver and enhance the learning through the technological resources, even when they're able to provide a course in person, they might still utilize different kinds of online or have certain kinds of online lectures, even in combination, or online projects or online simulations, whatever the case may be, to really move forward. So I think that we're expecting an increase in the hybrid model. Some people call it the blended model of learning as you go forward. And this actually aligns quite nicely with the commitment to experiential education, because increasingly you want to use class time for students working together. You know, they don't really need to come in big lecture halls and sit and listen to the professor. Lectures can be posted quite easily. So you want to use that in-person time in different ways. It's what the Lausanne School of Engineering refers to as the flipped classroom, where they post their lectures, but then they use all the time together for problem solving, taking on cases. So, you know, what I think is going to be the impact of the pandemic on the new campus is all of these great learnings and how we can use those learnings to really enhance the student learning experience, to expand experiential education, but at the same time, to give students that broad-based access to in-person activities in in-person classes.
Thank you for that, President Lenton. We've received a couple of questions from attendees who are interested in terms of what the site looks like at the moment and how they can sort of see the progress of the site if they're not living nearby. Is there a place on a website where they could sort of track the progress of the building?
Who can answer that question for us?
A good one for Gary.
Gary?
Yeah, this is always an exciting part of the process of constructing a building. The website that was provided earlier, the Markham Center Campus website on the Kiel or on the York University webpage, does include a section that provides campus construction updates. This is a page that already has shots over the past 5 or 6 months. Those will be updated on a regular basis. We currently also have on there a drone video, which gives you an aerial view that was taken of the site recently by our construction manager, one of the team. And as time goes on, we'll be developing a time-lapse video and keeping that updated. So on that webpage, you will be able to see on a regular basis what's going on.
Thank you for that, Gary. Our next question comes from Michelle, and they would like to know, given the historical prevalence of minimal diverse representation amongst faculty and students, what programs and strategies will be put in place to improve this at the Markham campus?
Well, I guess the first comment that I would make is I'm just interested in the perception that there's minimalist, if I heard you right, minimalist diversity on our campuses. York University is probably one of the most diverse universities in Ontario and perhaps in Canada. And I think we have students representing, I want to say, about 170 different countries, something like that. At any one time on our campus at Glendon and Kiel, when the students are all there and our staff and faculty, you go to our convocations, the diversity is one of the features that really jumps out at you. Now, look, having said that, we know also that there are gaps. And recent events, frankly, in Canada and the United States have really, called upon universities to look very carefully at gaps. And frankly, at York, we've been undertaking research quite a bit before recent events. And we had a number of reports that were drawn up, and we recognized that we had some significant underrepresentation in the case of Indigenous students and staff and faculty. We also undertook an analysis of our Black staff and faculty because, typically around the affirmative action categories, there's this category of visible minority, but that category, because it's such a gross category in terms of, it's just one category, it doesn't allow you to break that up and to see whether or not there's underrepresentation of specific groups that fall into that category of visible minority. And we know that there is underrepresentation of Black students and Black staff and Black faculty. So we're not waiting for this new Markham campus, although certainly the strategies that we're putting in place now for Glendon and for Kiel will be equally applied to the Markham Center campus. But we're doing a whole range of activities really led by a new division that we've had at York that was established about a year and a half ago. I can't quite count the months quickly, led by our VP, Sheila Cote-Meek of Equity, People and Culture, to really look at and focus on, how are we enhancing representation, equity, thinking about how we support our people and the culture of a welcoming, progressive university. And so she's been leading the development, and we've just posted our anti-Black racism framework and a Black inclusion action plan. We've already posted a couple of years ago our Indigenous framework, and those are actions associated with that. She's now leading the development of an equity strategy for the whole university that will link the Indigenous and Black inclusion plans to other equity seeking groups, including women, because, unfortunately, in some cases, in some disciplines, women and female students are still underrepresented, disabled, abled as well, and really developing an overall equity strategy for the whole university. That ranges from how we think about our hiring practices, our recruitment strategies with our students, how we better support our students, opportunities for scholarships that might be targeted to underrepresented groups, to postdocs, to how we think about our space. We had converted one of our historic buildings on our campus to an Indigenous house, Ganagowa Gamig, because we know that, how important space can be. So all of that, those frameworks, those action plans, those will be equally applied to Markham. And you're already starting to see that even in the building, in terms of having a multi-faith space, in terms of having the Indigenous circle on the outside. And we will continue to be thinking very carefully about equity, diversity, and inclusion when we start recruiting for those programs, the student services that we offer there, our hiring practices at this new campus, and so forth. I don't know whether or not my colleagues want to add anything.
No, I think that was great. Very complete. Thank you.
Thanks, President Linton. We probably have time for about 2 more questions. So we had a question from the audience that wanted to better understand how the construction for the campus is being funded.
Carol?
Sure, I'm happy to. As you know, the land that the campus is on was generously donated by the city of Markham. That's a significant part of the normal cost of building, constructing a building of this size. $25 million commitment by the York Region. Again, it's very significant, very meaningful contribution to the campus. We are looking to, we issued a debenture in last year's of $100 million to support the development of the campus. And so that's something that we will, the university decided to take on the debt because it's such an important addition to the university and to the community that is in York Region. We also are contributing the university from its university fund, its strategic fund, another $50 million. And another $50 million we're looking to the community, the broader community, the philanthropic community, as the president referred to in her opening remarks already. A number of members of the community have stepped up to help us to fundraise and have been very generous already in helping us fill that $50 million goal for the campus. So that's the sum total, a $275 million project altogether.
Thank you for that, Carol. Our last question comes from Alicia, and her question is, spirit, community, and well-being are concepts that we celebrate and cultivate on our Keele and Glendon campus. How do we plan to ensure the same culture is developed and nurtured at the Markham campus, i.e., how do we envision celebrating milestones in the community? For example, something that's near and dear to my heart, Red and White Day.
You know, maybe we could open it up to everyone on the team who might want to, talk to this. I think it's just incredibly important. You know, each campus may have a bit of its own identity in some unique ways, but that overall, the values of the university and the spirit of the university, that welcoming, and when we ask our students and our staff and faculty what they think about when they think about the campus, these features of being welcoming, being progressive, they always come out. And we would expect no less of the Markham Center campus, and fully having our typical events on campus like Red and White Day. Maybe we can even do something fun from once in a while and have a little friendly competition between the campuses that could get everybody really going around Red and White Day. I think there's just no end to the possibility. And I think the wonderful thing about the Markham Center campus, and the mayor mentioned this in his remarks, is that we really, both Markham sees us and we see Markham as, just such a fundamentally important strategic partnership. We're part of the Markham community as well as part of the York University community. So there could be some really fun things that we could do, pulling in the Markham community and having them part of our Red and White Day and some other events. We've already participated in a few Markham events, from the Santa Claus parade. They even got me on skates, actually, on the Markham big, ice pond, which I haven't been on for quite a while. I have to say I had tremendous fun. It was really enjoyable. So, that's another way of being in the community. And when you're in the community, and those are the students, many of whom will be the students who are coming to the university, that's another way that you're really building that sense of community within the university. So this is one area that I'm really excited about and tremendously looking forward to. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything.
I might just add that I suspect that the people who come in to populate this campus in its early stages will have just a particular passion for building something that's very new and very special and unique, very cutting edge, and very much of the place of the community where it's built. And I suspect that there will be a very strong feeling of spirit and community building and commitment. I look forward very much to being part of that as well. And I have to say, Alicia, I also love Red and White Day, and I find I'm having an increasing number of red and white outfits in my closet. So I look forward to wearing them at Markham.
if I might just add something, I think Alicia would know this, but not everyone who's participating from the broader community would necessarily know, but the mascot of York University is the lion. We're all York Lions. And one of the important parts about lions and how they develop other communities and how they support each other is that they're part of a pride. And those words of pride and being a lion and the characteristics that we associate with a lion are very much part of the spirit of all of our campuses, absolutely at Glendon and at Keele right now, and undoubtedly will extend to Markham.
Thank you for that. So this concludes our town hall for today. We had about 130 people join us tonight through Zoom and YouTube. And our webinar, the recording of tonight's event will be posted on our website, yorku.ca/Markham. And for those who have attended, if they'd like to receive a quarterly update on the progress of our campus, if you visit that same website, you can sign up to receive this newsletter. And I'd like to take this opportunity to invite Councillor McAlpine to say a few words.
Thank you for that, Jade. I'd just like to thank President Lenton and her team, all of you and the mayor for joining the local community tonight. I think it's very much appreciated that you do this and that the local community is kept in the loop on progress with the university. It will obviously have a huge impact on Markham in general, but more particularly on the immediate community. And so it's a really great opportunity to stay on top of what's going on with the development of the campus, its programs, its sort of physical construction as well. And we look forward to more of these events. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McAlpine, and I'll turn it over to the president to have the last word.
Well, listen, everyone, thank you so much for coming. You know, while I always appreciate the mayor's, warm acknowledgement of my efforts, I've said many times that this project was absolutely a culmination of the efforts of the mayor, people that are on this panel right now, members of the senior team, the Markham councillors. So I really want to thank each and every one of the panelists, of course, Mayor Frank Scarpitti, Vice President, Finance and Administration, Carol McCauley, Provost and Vice President Academic, Lisa Phillips, Amir Asif, our Vice President, Research and Innovation, the President of the York University Development Corporation, Gary Brewer, Councillor Reed McAlpine, and also all of the councillors here today. And Jade Maxwell Rodriguez, you always do such a fantastic job of hosting. So thank you so much. If I can leave you with one final thought this evening, it's that the Markham Center campus has always been this huge collaborative effort. And we want to ensure that this campus serves the needs of Markham students, professionals, entrepreneurs, businesses, governments, and citizens. This session this evening was just one valuable opportunity to provide some key updates, but also to listen to your questions and be able to start to have a conversation with you about the campus. We really look forward to continuing to having similar opportunities on a regular basis. The idea for this new campus came from local interest, and we hope that Markham community members will continue to be engaged at every step in our process. We want to build long-lasting relationships with this community so that when the doors open in 2023, the community sees itself as part of the Markham campus and sees York as a community partner. If you have any ideas for how this new campus can serve your needs or how you or your organization can collaborate with us, I encourage you to email us now at markham@yorku.ca or to visit yorku.ca/Markham. On the website, you can also sign up to receive the quarterly Markham Center Campus Community Update newsletter, which will launch later this month. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening and for your ongoing support of York University and our new Markham Center campus. Merci, miigwech.